So what's on the plate for today?
Biggest thing on the plate today is showing people how to create really engaging ads for free, and providing the code for that automation and building it out, just because this is something that should be accessible to everyone. So let's see if we can get it done and get it built.
Awesome. So let's go through maybe a planning pipeline where we can kind of decide what's the capability that we're providing. And then, one of the things I'm curious about is, we're generating ads. How is this going to be different than a user just going into like ChatGPT and saying, "Hey, I need an image." Like how is our solution going to be different? What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think we try to differentiate here by baking into the generation a lot of different notes on psychology and other just top performing ads, right? So if you're the
Let's
average
go.
person has done in-depth marketing research and more, they're just going to take a lot of time to iterate through this process, but we can now generate lots of different versions of honestly near perfect ad copy, and image ads for Facebook and whatnot by copying some of the top people out there like Alex Hermosi. And I think that's the place to start.
Okay, so the psychology. Let's cut out the fact that I didn't know how to spell psychology. ChatGPT is rotting my brain. There's approximately zero brain cells left. I'm okay with that. So we have ad copy, psychology, and it sounds like what we're leaning into is leveraging an existing framework. And you mentioned Alex Hormozy. I also really like Alex Hormozy. I like his ad frameworks and his, how he structures ads. So we're gonna use like a predefined, what do we want to call that, like a template or an ad creation methodology.
Yeah. Yeah, in ad creation, like methodology, a few things that come to my mind right away are like how he uses opinions. So he's like a lot of times using opinions and saying like, if I were this person, this is what I would do. Also with, again, some of the psychological perspectives, which is a lot of times people in marketing at first want to show features, over benefits. And at the end of the day, you're marketing to people's wants. And if I'm buying a toothbrush, I don't really care actually that it has all these special properties. I care that it's going to give me the feeling that my teeth are clean, right? And it's that like feeling and things like that I'm desiring, not the fact that it has like a 10-minute charge time or like some random shit, right? So not going on features and going after wants.
Okay. So what I'm hearing is that the user should be able to describe the things it's advertising, and the system should translate that into, kind of like a $100 million offer style advertisement that communicates at the emotional level.
And I'd say just a few questions about the like product and audience, and then from that, I want to be able to create multiple versions because at the end of the day, right, we want to still be able to select. The business owner, right, or the user is going to want to select what works best because they should know they're the person who buys from them. But I want to be able to generate those at will.
Okay, so I heard another requirement here. Get rid of this one, which is select from created ads.
Yeah, we want options.
I'm going to go ahead, and I think we need to first start just so that it can work in the background. Let's kind of work on generating some research around Alex Hormozy's ad creation methodology so we can kind of load that into an AI agent for a first pass. Please give me a robust analysis of how Alex Hormozy approaches uh, the creation of ads, how he um, delivers $100 million offers, and how that correlates to his ad making. And if there are any quantitative frameworks or rule sets that he follows in the creation of ads, both from a visual perspective and from a copywriting perspective, could you please output those? This will give us at least a super. We'll let that run in the background. Let's start thinking about the framework here. So we want to allow the users to choose between multiple images. I think we get the baseline running first. Are you thinking the images are being chosen via web app, via a iPhone app? What's the goal here?
I mean, just some place that you can view the images and be able to potentially iterate as well. That would be a differentiator, I think, as well, right? So if I get three options, just keep it simple. So I feel like I have options on my ad copy and I get one that's really close. I then want to be able to select that and maybe do a little bit more tuning. And I think that's probably the final
Awesome.
feature needed for this to be like very valuable as a first go.
Okay. So we have a user request, and that user request is, we, in order to be useful to the user, I think we allow that to be kind of diffuse or unstructured, and that should get translated, I think, by the AI agent in order to be ultimately useful, right? Now, how much context we're leaving it up to the user, and how much context the AI agent needs in order to begin the conduction of its work?
Are you talking at the very beginning?
Is the AI agent going to continue asking questions, or do you want to start this off as like a one shot and then go from there?
I think we have. I've implemented this framework a few times where, and you see it in a lot of places where it asks the questions it needs to fill back the context it's looking for, while also providing kind of like the easy button that is the model's best assumptions for those answers that it needs pre-filled based on like a very simple one shot. Um, Again, toothbrush example, because for whatever reason that's in my mind. If I said market my toothbrush, maybe it's looking for like specific audience that I already reach, and it's going to need some demographic questions, a few other things it wants to clarify about like wants and desires. That's what it's going to be looking for, and all I provided was market for like ads for a toothbrush, and then it's going to say, hey, does this all make sense? It's going to fill it in, or it's going to ask for it, but also say like, here's my suggestion, and use that. So because a lot of times these models know a lot more than the average person that's not an expert in marketing, which is, I'm assuming, someone that would use this. If we make it good enough, experts hopefully will use it as well.
Absolutely. Whatever I give you, make the assumptions or to go back and forth. Okay, so we got the user request. Um, that user request, if we're going to use some sort of predefined ad creation methodology, is going to have to be somehow translated into the ad framework that they're using. When you're developing AI agents, you always want to control attention. Attention is a kind of predefined amount of computational AI manpower behind any given task. And so, in order to optimize, you want to specialize. And so, if we have an agent who's focused on extracting structured data and sending that to ChatGPT's AIs or APIs, um, but it's also trying to be an expert in Alex Hormozy. Those skill sets are a bit asymmetrical, right? They're not aligned, um, and so we'll want to have at least two agents for this, I think, right?
Just to also that'll give us more control as we need to refine later. But I completely agree, keeping it smaller to start.
Awesome. Okay. So we're going to translate that into the ad framework. I think later on, there could be some sort of loop here in future iterations of this is like, hey, is this kind of your intention? This is my idea. Like this becomes like a design briefing in a copywriting briefing, and then the user can approve it. But for now, we can build out a purely linear process just for this quick workflow, and we can change it up. So once that ad framework is there, I imagine we're going to want to translate the ad framework into API calls. From here, we're going to want to receive the data. And then I heard you mention earlier, and inside here we have iterate and edit the ads, but the ability to edit existing ads or use ads as inspiration.
Yeah, I think that is a next step feature, but something that would be good.
Okay. So I think on the user request side, obviously we could get this user request from a lot of different nodes. It could be a webhook, but I think right now maybe we just start with a chat node.
But easiest start, just make it a chat.
Okay, so this one's actually pretty easy. So we have a chat node here. On the ad framework, I'm thinking just like a message, a model node, right? This is pretty easy so far. Now translate the ad framework into API calls. I think this is a particularly good use case for the model context protocol. Model context protocol in N8N is, I think, useful here because ultimately what we're trying to do is kind of extract the structured data from the result of message a model node and then send that to a specialized service to execute the actions. And that's kind of what model context protocol is really good at doing. How do you feel
So
about that?
real quick, I think we talked a minute ago on the translating into ad framework. I think we want two steps there just to limit the ability for the model to be tailored, right? We want one thing that's going to be really focused on putting it into like the Alex Hormozy focus framework, and another piece focused on taking a very small amount of information and filling it into a more complete input for the next step. So I think we want two
Okay. So
steps.
what does that look like right here?
Yeah, I think the first one is like building, right? Toothbrush example again. Be able to take toothbrush and turn it into. We don't need to do approval at first, but can just see the output. But have that with like a prompt framework around it that's going to take the input and make all the assumptions on the market, the target audience, and all that valuable information.
I think that's definitely a legitimate ad. Okay. So let's expand on market and make assumptions about target audience, etc. Is basically what I'm hearing. Okay.
Yeah, because that
Cool.
is like a knowledge step.
So then we want to translate user request, market study into a predefined framework, right?
Yeah,
Okay, cool. I like it. This one's like really easy and simple, actually. This is just going to be a agent node with a MCP server node. Okay, that's simple enough. We're going to receive the data back from this MCP and with some sort of end result. And that result, thinking down the line, is either going to be we probably do not want to return the base 64 because that's going to be useless. So we're probably going to want to return the image URL and maybe some sort of analysis on the image that allows this agent, maybe in future iterations, to iterate and self-learn.
that sounds good. Are we trying to handle multiple generations of images and whatnot here?
Why not? Sure, let's do it. Let's do two images. What's your take on that?
Yeah. I'm just thinking through in my head what this looks like, where the split occurs and what the slight differences we want to be. I'm assuming it's going to be in the step right before we make the calls. We do a split and have it just return the JSON structure with two different or however many different versions.
Yeah, and
Maybe that could be all baked into the translate user request into predefined framework, honestly,
yeah,
but it
and
just
we
needs to
could
be making multiple requests.
yeah, and this could just be a send data to multiple nodes thing, right? So if this we could theoretically do this, and then we could also inside this agent, we could do some sort of self-healing, which I think is useful because if we think about this workflow is going to have the ability to see what the user's request was, the copywriting, and then with ChatGPT's like organic infrastructure, we can use vision to determine if the user's requirements were met or to just iterate in the loop, which would give us, if we had these two splits, would give us four images with pretty little programming effort.
Component just to just to see what it does.
Okay. And then receiving the data, just to make it easy for us in the beginning, let's receive the data on I use ClickUp as my task management software. Let's just display the data, the attachments on ClickUp. ClickUp can act kind of like as the CDN for the image hosting. So if we did want to kind of use another URL as inspiration, I think we could do it there. And then obviously translate that to an app or something down the road if we wanted. This one's taking forever. All right, so we're going to start with a chat node, chat trigger. Then we're going to get a message a model. Actually, let's do an agent here because I do think that to your point, it'd be nice to iterate on the given framework and maybe potentially add in some, hey, is this what you wanted? This AI agent it'd be better served if we were going to do this one shot. If we didn't make this an AI agent, we made it a message a model just to reduce the risk of the AI agent asking like follow-up questions. But for
Yeah,
now, because we're using this in chat, let's use 4.1.
I'm replicating as well while you work on that in my own instance. I'm gonna try with Gemini just to
Hey, let's go. Let's
Be
see.
having us get different outputs
Yeah,
and a few tweaks along the way.
awesome. Okay. I'm just going to use simple memory for this. Okay, so this AI agent's purpose. So I don't know, property management company. That's kind of a service slash AI company. We'll use us as an example. Make a property an ad for my property management company to communicate that I don't know. We will raise your revenue by a guaranteed 15%. Okay. So going back to your input, which I really did like, is we want to translate this message here into an AI agent that essentially does the market research, makes assumptions on who the consumer is based off of the user's input, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And I need your help developing a prompt for an AI agent who's connected to a chat trigger. The chat trigger allows a user to input a somewhat generic ad framework. Really, the AI agent is going to probably be given very little information, probably just a general framework for what the ad's supposed to contain, and what type of business it is, and maybe who the general customer is. And this AI agent's purpose is to expand on the given input from the user and do a robust market analysis of who the consumer is that the ad is going to reach and what their pain points are, and output a marketing summary that could be useful for the next agent who is going to take that market summary plus the user request and then translate that into an ad framework um, from a predefined set of ad frameworks. Let's say like an Alex Hormozy style ad framework. All right, now I just use ChatGPT because I'm lazy and I don't want to open up my voice memos, but I don't like ChatGPT, so I'm going to go ahead and plug this into Claude. Thank you, ChatGPT.
Yeah, I'm doing some work in Gemini right now as well. While you were doing that, I typed a shorter description uh, to not talk over you. I'm
Cool.
letting it cook something up right now.
Okay. So far, this is pretty good. We have to do a little bit of prompt engineering here, I think, already looking at this, but that's okay. This is not very optimized for service-based businesses. That's okay though. I'm all right with this. And I think in general, this is like a good discussion for the use of. I just said I don't like ChatGPT, but I do think OpenAI assistance, that API in particular, is particularly useful for frameworks like this because you can get a decent amount of work done via prompt engineering, but the ability to go into a centralized location and edit the an AI agent's knowledge framework by adding files and vector stores and then edit the prompt there is really good because most likely if you're coding out AI frameworks often, you're going to reuse that agent elsewhere in different workflows and allows you to kind of scale a little bit easier. But let's just go ahead and do this. So I'm going to go ahead and put the system message, which is the system instructions for the AI. Based off your system instructions, you are correct. I think that is an OBS nuance because